With the release of the Blood Moon in-game event in DBD came a special game mode with a special objective. Scattered throughout the map are blood pumps that allow you to fill up a blood can to deposit blood to then fill up a generator. Now these generators are actually faster than the generators we have come to know for the last 9 years, and not only that, but a grand majority of killer perks such as Pop Goes the Weasel, Trail of Torment, Pain Res, Thanatophobia, Dying Light, just as examples, do not actually work. You don't even gain coup de grace stacks off of these blood generators when they pop at this very moment. On top of that, killer powers such as Freddy's teleport do not allow you to teleport to blood gens, effectively hindering his kit. I've also heard people say that you can still actually do those generators while in Tier 3 Madness from Doctor, and Pig's head traps do not activate when a blood generator pops. These are obvious oversights, rendering this game mode essentially unplayable for Killer, as there is no real incentive to play this mode. The only unique interaction the Killer can engage in this mode is kicking a gas can if the survivor places one on the ground, which there is basically no reason to ever drop a gas canister to begin with. So functionally, this is pretty much an event exclusively for survivors, as Killers are severely gimped in this mode. Now, conceptually, this is something that has been requested for a long time, a side objectives to the generators to make the general game-to-game gameplay more engaging than just holding mouse 1 on a generator for 90 seconds. This is kind of uncharted territory for behavior, as while they have had little sideshow attractions for special game modes before, they have never implemented a mechanic like this that fundamentally alters the game progression before. However, as I previously mentioned, this new blood generator mechanic has been implemented in a very slapdash manner. The average Killer game in this mode has pretty much been reduced to a 4-minute affair, the likes of which has not been seen in years, as the regular 4 versus 1 game mode has essentially been balanced around the assumption that the Killer has some kind of generator regression perks on. Since those regression perks are basically unusable in this mode, and blood generators are significantly faster and less risky to complete than regular generators, you have games that are very reminiscent of 2016 Dead by Daylight like this. Now, that game I just showcased was a game I played versus a streamer when I was on Survivor, as I personally have pretty much played only Survivor during this game mode with the exception of that Sadako video that I posted the other day. But 3 gens popping like this is basically the old days of DBD. Pig is already an underwhelming killer to begin with, but having to contend with the insane speeds of the blood gens in this game mode, while simultaneously having a gimped power that doesn't even properly work when a blood generator pops, is a half-baked, undercooked implementation of an idea that otherwise should have outstanding promise. As again, people want to feel more engaged than just holding mouse 1 on a generator for 90 seconds. People want to feel like they are actually engaging with the game that they're playing. It's kind of like the Elder Scrolls effect, where whenever you're playing an Elder Scrolls game, you could walk in any direction and within 40 seconds, you'll have a point of interest to interact with, like a dungeon or a bandit camp or a quest or a town, something like that. Having to grab these canisters and bring them to a blood gen to deposit them solves that long-standing issue of the lack of engagement the survivor side has had outside of chase. But when you can basically fill them up in 30 seconds and then pop the gen almost instantly, that negates everything that the game has been building to for the last 9 years. This is not even factoring in that I forgot to mention that while the best killer perks in the game are pretty much unusable in this mode, on the other side of the coin, the best survivor perks in the game have virtually no such limitations. So while you're heavily gimped on this mode on Killer, survivors can still play at their full strength. As it currently stands, this mode has little to offer on the Killer side, other than getting the event tomes out of the way so you can unlock the new exclusive cosmetics on offer. You'd be better served just playing the regular 4 versus 1. Now, despite that, it is pretty obvious that these blood generators are basically a beta test for what they plan to implement into the core game in the future. They even say as much on their website on the newsletter for the 2025 Blood Moon event, stating, "We made this decision to keep design space open, allowing us to experiment with new ways to interact with blood generators in the future. It's also an opportunity to explore new loadouts and playstyles, so dust off those perks you've been sleeping on and get cooking." Now, I'm not sure if these gens will be adjusted in any way during the duration of the rest of the Blood Moon event, but it is pretty clear that even if they're not, they will be adjusting these blood generators in the future when they're implemented into the core game proper. It has gotten to the point where when playing this game mode on Survivor, the only killers you typically will encounter are basically the S tiers, the best killers in the game, such as Kaneki, Blight, Nurse, even killers like Sadako and the Singularity, who in this game mode are actually somewhat stronger with their powers, because if they run anybody else in this mode, they are essentially just co-signing their loss of the match. And since they cannot use generator builds, the meta I have seen has become perks like Remember Me, No Way Out, Noed, the new Kaneki perk, None Are Free, perks that functionally only work during endgame to replace their other perks that are useless because of the way blood generators work and the sheer speed of these generators, so they've basically just swapped to endgame builds to replace their regular builds that they would play in the typical 4v1 killer game. I have seen some other people's thoughts and opinions of this game mode. Generally, all of them pretty much match up with mine, that there is no incentive or reason to play killer outside of getting the exclusive outfits from the tomes. I think it was Bran, otherwise known as the Mr. Headache, who I saw give some just off the top of the head ideas. Like, since these gens are significantly faster, they should incur more risk, such as instead of a basic dry kick that the killer has that functionally does nothing on these gens, since you can instantly stop their aggression with a half second of dumping a blood canister into it, that you are instead able to just completely tip it over down to zero. So there is actually more of a risk-reward component to focusing on the blood gens, as opposed to them just being objectively better than doing regular generators in every single way. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it probably goes without saying, within a year, we will likely be seeing some iteration of this in our regular 4 vs 1 game mode. It's going to take a lot more work and a lot more consideration with balancing. As it currently stands, the implementation is severely undercooked, but since they essentially admitted in writing that this is a beta of future gameplay mechanics as opposed to just a one-off event, it's why I've put so much consideration into this and why and how it's currently a problem. Behavior's track record with the implementation of a lot of stuff, kind of like this, is usually pretty spotty, but I actually do have faith that there is no way that they don't see any of these issues with how the blood gens currently work and think that it's completely fine. Anyway, that's going to be it for the video for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Till next time.